Tonight, a stepdad's sickening lies finally uncovered. Days after frantically claiming baby Aveion Lewis was abducted, his stepfather admits he made the whole thing up. Police in Roanoke, Virginia say the 2-year-old was already dead when stepdad Brandon Lockett called 911 on Thursday. Was little Aveion murdered, or was his death an accident? Lockett claimed Aveion's 3 kidnappers busted into the house and knocked him out cold. Listen.
I heard a knock at the door. I went to the back door, and all I remember was boom. That's all I remember. When I came to, my wife was standing over with me, and my son was, you know what I'm saying, he was crying. And my daughter, she was gagged upstairs in her room, and that's all I remember.
Not making eye contact there. Look at the before and after shots of Lockett. On the left, a picture of him last week after he claimed he was zonked on the head. On the right, his mugshot taken today. So how did he get the split lip and the swollen eyes you see in the before picture? Did he perhaps beat himself up trying to prove he was assaulted by these fictional kidnappers? Tonight, Lockett is charged with felony child neglect. But what does little Aveion's mom know? Will she face charges as well? I want to hear your take on all of this. Give me a call, 1-877-JVN says. That's 1-877-586-7297. Straight out to my awesome expert panel, forensic psychiatrist Dr. Dale Archer, to weigh in. We're delighted to have Judge Greg Mathis, host of the Judge Mathis Show, along with criminal defense attorney Keith Sullivan. And we begin with in-session correspondent Beth Karras. Beth, what is the very latest?
Well, good evening, Jane. As you just mentioned, this investigation has changed. It has taken a turn. It is no longer an investigation into a potential abduction. It is now a death investigation, not a homicide investigation. At this point, a death investigation. Brandon Lockett stands charged with felony child neglect, the unlawful disposal of a human body, and obstruction of justice for leading not just the Roanoke Police Department, but the FBI and the Virginia State Police on a wild goose chase by making up this story of an abduction of this little toddler. Now, the investigation is continuing. They still have not found his body. And the authorities are concerned because there is a winter storm watch in effect from tomorrow morning to Friday morning. Ice, a lot of ice and rain expected, and that may hamper their search for the body.
Judge Greg Mathis, this is what I don't understand. They're searching for the body. Now, the cops say that this person we're looking at right here confessed to making it all up. So if you're going to confess to making it all up and admit that the boy was dead before you called 911, why not go the whole way and tell them where the body is?
Yeah, that's what I'm confused about as well. As well, he should, I haven't heard the explanation that he's saying did happen. For example, if it was an accident he's tried to cover up, an accidental death, then he should say that. All we know that he has said she died before, and the body is missing. We know those two things, but I think he should be charged with murder, not just neglect, felony neglect.
Let's examine that, because police, as Beth Karras mentioned, are calling this a death investigation at this point, not a homicide investigation. Now, we don't know whether this little boy, Aveion's stepdad, has told police where the boy's body is. We know cops just haven't found it yet. They have charged Brandon Lockett with felony child neglect, improper disposal of a human body, and obstruction of justice. So let me ask Keith Sullivan, criminal defense attorney, do the charges indicate that police believe little Aveion's death was an accident and then the whole kidnapping story was a cover-up? Or could they simply be waiting for discovery of the body before they can consider a charge of murder?
Well, Jane, what's clear here is that felony neglect charge indicates to us that the police know a lot more than they're telling us. The statute requires that there be willful conduct. That's an intentional standard that leads to serious injury. So there's things that they're aware of that they haven't revealed to the public that merits out that he meet that standard.
And let me tell you something. We are learning now Child Protective Services has been involved with this family before. Aveion's aunt says child welfare workers came to the home when the boy was just 15 months old. They investigated the parents for possible neglect. No charges were ever filed. Dr. Dale Archer, every time we cover one of these stories, who is one of the supporting characters, Department of Children and Family Services, and yet somehow in the storyline they never quite intercept the tragedy.
No, and you're right, Jane. It's like a broken record. It's time after time after time. And we've even seen cases where they've been evaluated, i.e. the parents, and then they get the custody back. We don't know any of that in this particular case, but what we do know is that this guy told a lie, and people do things for a reason. So there are one or two things that are going on here. Either A, he was directly involved in the harming of this child, or B, which hasn't been discussed, he is covering up for someone else.
Well, I thought perhaps there was somebody else involved, because how do you punch your own face and give yourself a completely swollen and bruised face? And when he's giving the interviews, and we'll show it in a second, you could see that his face is all beaten up, and he said, well, you know, these guys came in and they knocked me. Look at his face. He's got black eyes there, and his face is totally puffy. And he said, well, you know, they came in and they beat me up, so that's why I have this bruised face. So who else is involved, or did he smash his own face against the refrigerator door?
Well, I would predict that it's the wife that's involved, and that's why he is protecting her with this crazy story.
Well, she has not been charged with anything, so we certainly want to be very careful about that and point that out, and we'd be happy to hear from her if she wants to weigh in and give us her side of the story. Here's my big issue. Why on earth lie on camera? He is talking to a news crew right there. Stepdad Brandon Lockett repeatedly stepped in front of TV news crews and spewed not simple but ornate lies, even having the audacity to beg for this child's return. Listen.
Still right now, I mean, I don't know what to do. I mean, I just want my son back. You know what I'm saying? I want my family back. And me having to go through all this, I mean, I'm willing to go through it so my son can come home, but all I want is him.
Cops are saying at that moment, he knows this little boy that he's begging for the return of is dead. You know, I have to go back to Dr. Archer. What does this tell you about his psyche?
Yeah, this tells us a lot about his psyche, because basically we have a guy who has no eye contact, he has no emotion, and his delivery is totally flat. And he has just lost a child. He's a stepfather to this child, and he is gone. And all of that put together, someone who doesn't have any feeling or emotion for another human being and can lie blatantly, indicates a sociopath or an antisocial personality disorder.
All right, as shocking as his on-camera lies are, you know, we've seen this before. Who could forget Scott Peterson's cold-blooded performances? After murdering his pregnant wife, Lacey, and dumping her body, he had the nerve to go on camera and ask for help in finding her. Listen to this one.
When people accuse me of some involvement, and I had nothing to do with her disappearance, but people still accuse me of it, my response is the same to all of them. Thank you for being aware of her missing from our family. And please do what you can to bring her home.
What a bad actor. In '94, Susan Smith murdered her 2 young sons by strapping them into their car seats and submerging her car in a lake. She told police and the entire world that an African-American man had carjacked her and driven away with her sons. Listen to this one.
When he made me get out of the car, I tried to get my children. I was, just begged him, please let me take them. And he said no, he didn't have time because they were in car seats and it was going to take time for me to get them out of the car seat. And he just told me, he said, but I won't hurt them. And he just took off.
This makes me sick. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Beth Karras, you've covered so many of these cases. It blows my mind that they have the nerve to go on camera and spew these lies.
Well, I can't explain the psychology behind it, but these people have been convicted of the crimes that they were initially denying even occurred. Maybe they're just trying to convince themselves that they didn't do something as horrific as what Susan Smith did and what Scott Peterson did, both of whom dumped their loved ones into bodies of water and killed them that way.
All right, I want everybody to think, why would anybody go on camera? But first, quickly, we are going to take a break. Stay right where you are. More of the tragic death of this beautiful, adorable little toddler.